Kate Marshall Flaherty. She was shortlisted for the Tifritz Poetry Prize 2020, Arcs Poem of the Year 2019, Exile's Gwendolyn McEwen Poetry Prize 2018, Descant's Best Canadian Poem, the Pablo Neruda Poetry Prize, the Thomas Merton Poetry of Sacred Prize, the Robert Frost Poetry Award, and others. She has been published in Vallum, Malalat Review, CVT, Grain Room, Saranac Review, and others. She was Toronto representative for the League of Canadian Poets from 2012 to 2018, inaugurating Toronto's Poetry and Union in 2018, and Poetry and Healing for Sick Kids Hospital in 2019. Beautiful. She guides still point writing and editing workshops.
I'm going to be reading from my book, Radiant, but I'm going to start actually with a Canadiana poem. I don't know if you guys are all too young to remember this, but just a show of hands. Does anybody that's like 50 years or beyond like me remember the movie Paddle to the Sea? Do any of you guys? Oh, a few. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to start with this poem called Being Unmade. And it's just about, as a child, my dad for birthday parties would play movies in the basement. Being Unmade. I am here again in this strange place, dream within dream, spooling like a film reel in slow motion. Years ago, my dad rented Paddle to the Sea on an old metal projector wheel for my basement birthday party for the whole class. We watched the start of Bugs and a Bullseye countdown with bits of hair magnified on the screen. An old man carved a small spruce boat by the fire in his lonely cabin. I think a boy went to visit him, but that is not what I remember well. It was the ending, when my father played the film backwards in a strange, slow language like marbles in the mouth, where the boy was spitting blueberries back onto the bush, and the uncarved wood curls leapt out of the fire back onto the fattening boat, and the waterfall flowed back up in its own watery lace to the lip. Then our clapping was real, and the final celluloid strip circle slapped, and the spin came to a stop. And I was head girl for a moment, my tall, scary dad, the hero for a flash, in the backwards reverse of expectations from the kids, who asked him to run it again and to start once more. And here I am again dreaming I'm in pioneer days by the fire, back in the wood shop, watching myself become the boat, being unmade, unwhittled into woodblock, in this haunting time, and waking like paddling back from the sea. So, thank you. So this book, Radiant, is about my, thank you. It's really fun to see you all. I wish it was in real life, but this is the next best thing. So this book, Radiant, is about my journey with breast cancer. And I actually had my annual mammogram just this week. It's been 8 years. So you might think, oh, a book about cancer, but hopefully there'll be some laughs and some hope. And I'm still here. So I'll start with the first poem in the book called Welcoming Angels. I will not see cancer as an enemy, nor foreign intruder, but a passenger pigeon, not extinct, flown from a roof box. I thought I heard a flutter outside the glass, guessed it was an angel with wings and a horn, wakening us to joy. There was no rank nor pecking order, no bound round his ankle. He wasn't lowly, was not proud, but clawed a scrap of paper. By now I knew this was a dream, and dreamed I woke before I read the note. I knew what it said without seeing the words. The angel knew, as the bird, a question. Will you wrestle with welcome? Learn homing? So that began my journey about I'm not going to fight against this. It's just part of my journey. So we'll see what happens. And this next poem's called Tumor. And in a minute I'll play it. My angel son Gabriel made music to the back of it. But I was at a writing workshop with Ellen Jaffa, and she said, write a poem from the perspective of an object. And I had just been diagnosed, so I thought I'm going to write a poem from the perspective of the tumor and see what it has to tell me. So hopefully you can hear it, because I'm going to just play it with the music on my computer.
Tumor.
Yes.
Hidden. Nestled in dense flesh. I, the ominous orb, pearled myself larger in soft oyster folds. I stayed silent under the sea. Were you listening to what bubbled up? I was unknown to you all those seasons of waves, starting out as a grain of sand, no more grit than salt. Swelling, I had no scent, like green before rain. I had no shape or weight, just a mass of cells feeding like fish. By the time you saw me, bright as a silver lure in an ocean mound, I shone out from the darkness, wanted to be found. I chose to grow in your bosom, friend, for with it you nourished children and the world.
So a little shout out, oh, thank you. Shout out to my son, Gabriel, who I thought did beautiful underwater music. And it was a profound experience to write that, because it did feel like the tumor was speaking to me. So the next poem is about chemo. I had said I'm not going to do chemo. I'm a real nuts and berries girl, and I had said I'm not going to do chemo, and was quite adamant. And each of my 3 kids, one by one, my eldest daughter Annie said, "Mom, just imagine there's a bunch of priestesses, chanting and dropping petals into the vat, just imagine that, and you can take your chemo." And my middle guy, Gabriel, said, "Mom, just throw everything against this cancer." And my youngest guy, Lockie, said, "Mom, if there's mold in the basement, I get it. You want to open the windows and let in the sunshine, but you might have to use a little bit of bleach." So I thought, okay, I will take chemo because these kids want me to. So this is the poem about it, called Chemo. Phony conviction, sterile. I need to believe in this red electric juice stung into my veins. Persuade my imagination it's elixir. My faith in healing is real. I've seen convincing proofs, known mysteries of light. I've witnessed convicts set free, jail bars flung open, a brightness quickening in each cell. I've seen the earthly shroud left in a mound, held a burst open chrysalis in my palm, have prayed and been still, sat like a hermit in my space, quiet, reverent. Even my fear convinced me of one thing, love. And so I will see you, ruby drug, as liquid love. Trust you are spreading good news. So the next poem, thank you. The next poem is a triptych for my children. There were many, many things they did during chemo, but this is just a triptych of 3 short little poems of 3 lovely little things they did to support me during the journey. Triptych for my children during chemo. Wings. The top stair moans in moonlit dark. Oaken weight leans on the lintel. I lurch, stumbling, descending the stairs. And Gabriel, my angel, is there. His sturdy hold under my arms rights me after my fall. I lean on him. Eggs. Yellow bile and bright sun make stark my bedspread. I wake to spy a glass bowl of water filled with floating flowers. Glints of morning sun speck the walls. Lockie knocks softly, bringing me eggs, sunny side up, with twin toast and tea. Tells me he likes it when I'm vulnerable so he can help. Sweep. Lemon smells cleaner than chlorine bleach with zest. Oh, happy kitchen when Annie wipes away the grime. She is careful, meticulous. Her prayer becomes a cloth. She says we need a clean sweep to make space, confess and let go. There is a time for Veronica's napkin and a season for rags to flap joyous purpose in the sun.
Sprout, post-chemo. Like that grade 1 bean project in a decorated Dixie cup, those little unfurlings of green poking up in the window. Something is growing on the smooth garden of my scalp, exotic as first fiddleheads. Little lines of white-tipped dark spike up. Not pirate stubble or coarse hairs shaved mean. These are baby fine, kitten fur. I cannot stop stroking these soft tassels as I smooth a palm over my crown. It's soothing to feel something grow. I do not speak the language of warrior, had not helmet or sword. I was shorn more as a monk, stripped naked. I have no head for battle, but carry a banner for all people. I want to stand on the mountain's bald top in the fierce, refreshing wind, waving my flag in the light. Far away. Pictures taped on the wall, tenderly showing sequence. Panties before skirt, socks before shoes. Set me to wondering what an Alzheimer's mind feels like inside. Scrolling back to childhood, where daughters seem sisters, deja vu's cobweb, and sleepwalkers startle and wake under slow, snowy lampposts, where I think I must know you, but your name dissolves like tissue in a tub. Such a mind, a stalwart mule refusing the harness and cart, ox cart, oxo cubes, hugs and kisses. Signatures flattened to a scrawl, and this was once poetry with words like luminous and... They say you stew in your own juices. If you were sweet, you thicken. If sour, then old Sneap sucking on a lemon. How is it amnesia doesn't wipe away language? The life story forgotten, but not the words. We lost the way, but not the meaning. I am lost. Aren't we all? And to be shuffling down the corridor, vague as melting clocks, dilly-dally, daily times and dill pickles, doorknobs, opening the tin and sons become brothers, names fall away like flesh from soup stock bones. Lily-pad thoughts flowed on murky ponds, white and clean as these daisies on the gurney, chalky like the nurse's sensible shoes, but somehow those fingernails on slate. Black hole sucking in everything like a hoover. 8-ball rebounding but never sunk. And sometimes, after long, long days of staring at nothingness, oh, lemon squares.
I would like to know the process of doing those extraordinary videos. That was sensational. Does it change the process in any way of the poetry, or Katie, the way you think about your poetry when you're preparing it for that kind of video? Just wonderful to see that.
Thanks, Marcia. What a sweet question. Well, far away, we had to rent equipment we could barely afford, so we had to do it in one take. And I actually had to, and it was like -30 and freezing. So somehow I think the overexposure and the fact that we were cold kind of added. I think we decided to have it in a sort of a mishmash of a cemetery. So it felt like everything that sort of went wrong sort of lend itself in the film to the idea of dementia and things being a little off kilter and things being a little less than true, but still having, you know, depth of feeling there. So it was kind of accidental, but it worked out. And I feel like the filmmaker and musician, Mark, he really got an understanding of the poem. So he kind of ran with it and I trusted him. And yeah, it just really worked out like it was supposed to be, but not at all as we had planned it, which I guess is like writing a poem. We start off thinking we're writing about something and we end up somewhere else, you know, but it all works out.
Nefertiti has one.
Great.
Yeah, it's in the chat box. How did you memorize your poem for that video?
I have to memorize, because often we'll shoot the track first. So I have to actually memorize and lip sync, which is pretty tricky. So I have to, I tape myself reading it, and then I just keep reading over and over and over the tape to get the cadence and the timing right that goes with the music. So it's a lot of work, but by the end of it, you know your poem inside out. And the instrument's called a nickel harpa. It's like a violin that's, I think, Scandinavian, and I find even more bittersweet than the violin.
Music composed especially for this, or did he do like an impromptu?
Great question. I've worked with both. My friend Anne Hurley, who's here, she and I have done impromptu together, or I'll write a poem and she'll write music to it, usually that way, not often the reverse. So sometimes it's impromptu, often it's the musician, usually it's the musician responding to the poem and then going off and making music. That's what my friend Anne does. That's what my son Gabriel did. That's what my friend Mark did, that we'll kind of work together and talk about things, and then they go off and interpret the poem musically, which I think is amazing because it brings a whole nother layer to the poem. That's a dance that two partners, you know, so it makes a whole new three-dimensional thing in my mind.
Kate, you're writing out of a time of, it's going to be energy sapping. I'm just wondering how you found the motivation to write this stuff.
That's a great question too. I found writing was my therapy. A lot more poems got written than made it into the book, but I found I just channeled all my fears, all my hopes, all my worries, all my dreams, all my aspirations, all my bucket lists. I just found I channeled it into my writing. And when I felt so low and so terrible, going through chemo and radiation and a bunch of surgeries, I didn't have much energy to do much more than sit there with my notebook. So I found it incredibly therapeutic. to literally spill it out of my body into my notebook. So, you know, I guess it was helpful. Not all of them made it into the book. A lot of them were rants and things, but I still found it was very helpful. But thank you. That's a beautiful question.
I really want to thank you. One, you personified the tumor, and you made it seem like, oh, it's not that bad. Oh, this is like your little buddy. And so I was like, well, that's a different way of looking at it. And then also the idea that you spent a lot of time, it seems like you got a lot of solace, energy from your family and your kids and your poetry. You know, when I first saw your book, I was like, oh, poems about cancer. Oh no, I don't want to. And then I was looking through your videos and I was reading your poems. I'm like, actually, this is uplifting. And so I want to thank you for reading those and providing me and maybe some other people with some goodness and hope as we move forward. So thank you, Kate.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm touched by your words. Thanks.